Hey my dudes, my name is Cecilia and welcome to my kitchen here in Stockholm, Sweden. I am making a birthday cake for one of my dear friends. She's turning 30 and I volunteered to make her cake because I've been on a little bit of like a cake journey this year. Obviously, I made my own birthday cake back in March. I made my friend Matilda's birthday cake and I've made two different kind of smaller wedding cakes. They were more kind of like elopement cakes, but it's just been really, really fun and I'm having a really good time doing it. And I so in my heart of hearts want to be one of the cool cake girlies. If you are not aware, there is like an absolute cake revolution that has been going on since the pandemic and really kicked off because of the pandemic. Like a lot of pastry chefs were out of work and needed something to kind of like keep the lights on. And so they turned to cake making. There are just so many people who are just so inspiring and just like, you can find just the most beautiful cakes on Instagram. Anyways, I've been really inspired for a really long time. And so I've been trying to volunteer to my friends to like, hey, oh my God, you're having a birthday. Do you want a birthday cake? I know somebody who can make a birthday cake. So anyways, I volunteered to make my friend's cake. Pretty simple flavors, chocolate, raspberry, and vanilla. This is going to be both a recipe plus tiny bit of a vlog because every single time I can make a cake, it's kind of like, oh, what am I doing? What's going on? So let's go take this journey together. Let's get started. First things first, we got to get started with the cake. This recipe actually comes from Bon Appetit and I have now made it. I think this is my third time making it just this year. I am obsessed with this recipe. It is so delicious and really, really simple. This is a double batch of the recipe because this cake is supposed to be for 23 people. So I want to make sure it's like a big boy cake. First, mix together the sugar, flour, salt, and baking soda. In a different, larger bowl, pour in hot water, cocoa powder, and the oil. Mix those together until there are no lumps. Pour in all of the buttermilk and the vanilla extract. Make sure the batter is no longer hot. Warm is fine, but not hot, and add in all of your eggs. Whisk to combine. Make sure there are no streaks or lumps of anything. Add in all of your dries. And start to gently mix into the batter. Make sure you're really going around the sides and making sure there's absolutely no lumps of flour or sugar left. Put this to the side for a second. I'm gonna use my 24 centimeter, 9.5 inch springform pan because this is my favorite pan and like the biggest one that I have. Unfortunately, I only own one of these pans and so I'm gonna have to bake off this batter in rounds. It's going to be 4 rounds and yes, that is very inefficient, but I live in a small apartment. I don't want like 10 cake tins, but it is annoying. Anyway, parchment. Take a sheet of parchment, fold it over, fold it in half the other way, and then edge to edge, and again, edge to edge. Just like as if you were making a paper snowflake. You know the paper snowflakes we made in elementary school? It's just like that. Right around this line here, just cut it off, a nice big circle. Take a bowl full of oil, pastry brush, brush the bottom of the springform with oil. Now, obviously, if you had spray fat, you could use that, but I don't. So this is my workaround. I like a lot of edge. Beautiful. And again, brush with oil. This could also be melted butter, FYI. You could flour this or add like a layer of cocoa powder around if you're worried about sticking in your particular pan. I am not. I know that my nonstick pan is going to be totally fine. Also, I would not suggest flouring your pan for a chocolate cake because it'll give the cake this like white cast that I don't think is really nice. And also, if you do flour but with cocoa powder, do know that the outside of the cake may look burned. It's just the cocoa powder that gets like wet with oil and it gets so dark. Your cake is not actually burned. It's just the cocoa powder playing tricks on you. Just FYI. Again, I'm just gonna oil. I'm not going to powder this in any way, but I also know that my stuff won't stick, so. I don't like just pouring the batter into the pan and guessing. I like to be really accurate. So what I do is I put the bowl of batter on my scale and tare it to 0. Well, that's what tearing means. Tare your scale. Now it's at 0. This, by the way, is why a weight-based measurement system is so much more superior to a volume-based measurement system. Because if this was in cups, I would just kind of be like guesstimating, but because it's in grams, I can just add all of the ingredients together, divide them by 4, and then I know to the gram how much to add to this pan, okay? So weight-based measurement system. Ugh, you guys, this is for my Americans. The rest of the world, I know you already do weight-based grams, whatever. America, get with the program. You'll be better bakers for it, I promise. Anyways, we need 695 grams of batter in here. Actually, it's 694.5, but I rounded up and just straighten. Also, another thing you need to think about is that I tared this with all of the batter in it. So when it says it's now at 695, that is including the batter that is on the scoopy. Ladle, that is including the batter that's on the ladle. So every time I finish ladling, I want to make sure I really scrape out that ladle. There we go. And directly into a 375 Fahrenheit oven. Very exciting update. Cake is done on the website. The cake is supposed to be like a sheet cake. You just pour like the whole 1x of batter into a sheet pan. Not a sheet pan, a casserole pan, whatever. It's a sheet cake. You know what I'm talking about. Slam that in the oven and then it takes like 40 minutes because it's a big cake. And I think the last time I made this cake, I did 3 layers instead of 4. And I remember the cake layers taking absolutely forever. So somehow in my mind, I was like, oh, it's gonna take 30 minutes at least per layer. This is gonna take me like all afternoon to make, but it only took 20 minutes. And I had set the timer at 30, but after 22 minutes, I was like, oh my God, it's really smelling like cake. I really gotta watch it, which by the way, do not ever rely on the time that's in a recipe that's given. Like that's a guesstimation. Your oven, the vibes in the universe can be different day to day. Unless you have made the exact same thing in the exact same oven in the exact same way at the exact same weight, your oven time will probably be different. So anyways, this took 22 minutes and it is like done. So I think 20 minutes or maybe even like 18 will be great, which also means so much faster. Oh my God, very exciting update. Okay. Rack. Now, under normal circumstances, I would just let this cool completely in the pan, but we ain't got time for that. We got to move on to the next round of cake. So little offset, you could also use a knife. And I just want to go around the edges here. Release these sides, baby. Come on. I'm not using a knife because this is nonstick and I don't want to like score it. So this little metal spatula will be just fine. And we pop it off. Gorgeous. Oh my God. Okay. And then the beauty of parchment, just slide her right off. Look at that. Clean. Okay, well, not clean, oily, but that doesn't matter. We go pop that to the side. That's gonna cool. This guy, ready to go. Now I just gotta clean the outside walls and then we're just gonna go through. We're just gonna bake this cake off, boom, 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 and we'll chit chat again once all the cake is baked off. Okay, love you, bye. I really truly love how I had a whole speech about why weight-based measurements were better and like the accuracy of them, and then completely misscaled and miscalculated. Well, not misscaled, but I miscalculated. And so like this last one is like double the size of all the other ones. As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm on a journey. You live, you learn. This is part of the process. You gotta make mistakes. And this one is not a very big one. So one of the cake layers is going to be thicker than the other ones. Whatever. Oh boy. I love myself. Okay. Letting our cakes cool to the side, and we are going to move on to the raspberry jam filling business. If I was doing this without being on camera, I would have already done this. I would have already made the buttercreams like while these guys were baking. Like I would have been much more efficient, but I'm trying. Film this for you guys. You're welcome. So I'm a little bit slowed down, but that's fine. No worries. Let's just move on. So I'm using frozen raspberries because they're cheaper than fresh raspberries. I don't know about your area, but here in Sweden, fresh raspberries are so ridiculously expensive, and I feel like their season is like 2 or 3 weeks long, and frozen raspberries are just definitely like the way to go. So I have here 350 grams total of raspberries, but the like whole berries I kind of picked out, and that's these guys. We're gonna set them over to the side, like juice included. Because I'm using frozen, I didn't wanna put the frozen berries directly in between each layer of cake, but I also didn't wanna just rely on raspberry jam because that has like a really cooked flavor. And so I wanted to kind of get the best of both worlds. So I have here 200 grams of defrosted raspberry and then 200 grams of sugar. We're just gonna boil this together for 5 to 10 minutes until it gets nice and thick. 5 minutes and we're looking real good here. I don't have any lemon, so we're gonna add some citric acid. Just a little bit. And we wanna pass this through because I don't want any of these seeds. Really get all that juicy good stuff out of there. I want to cool this down more quickly, so I'm just gonna put it in this metal pan here. I would not do this if I was making this the day before, which is what I would have done if I wasn't filming everything. I do so much for you guys. A little bit of plastic wrap, just because I'm putting it in my fridge and I don't want anything, I'm just protecting it, you know? Moving on, let's make the first of 2 different Swiss meringue buttercreams, which are gonna be our frostings today. We're gonna make a vanilla one and a chocolate one. The chocolate one is going to go on the inside, so we're gonna do that first, and then we will make the vanilla one later. For Swiss meringue buttercream, you are going to need a large pot that fits the bowl of your stand mixer so that the bottom of the bowl does not touch the bottom of the pan. I also have in here about 1 inch or 2 of water, and it's important that the bottom of the bowl does not touch the water either. You are also going to need your whisk attachment. Make sure your stand mixer bowl is super clean. There's no fat, there's no nothing in here. 200 grams of egg white, 400 grams of sugar. Whisk those together. Turn on your water, and you want it to be at a rapid boil because why go slow? There's no reason for it to be like simmering. We want it at a boil. We want to get going here. We're going to pop the bowl onto the pot. I like to put a little spatula guy on the side here. I have gotten this bowl stuck to this pan so many times because the steam forms a vacuum and then you're just like freaking out. So I just do this so that I can actually take the bowl up. And while this egg mixture is over the pot, you have to be whisking continuously. Now, there is a temperature we want to take this to, but honestly, I always forget it. I will put it right here. Editor Cecilia here. I Googled it. No one can agree on a temperature. Do the finger test I'm about to show you. The reason I don't have it memorized is because I never take it to a specific temperature. What we are looking for is for the sugar to dissolve. So I just use my fingers. We're not trying to whip any air into the egg whites right now. We're literally just trying to get the temperature to come up without the egg whites curdling. So I'm just pinching it between my fingers and I can still feel the crystals of sugar. It is not time yet. There's less crystals and it's starting to get warm, but I'm still feeling crystals, so it's not there yet. It's warm. I don't feel any crystals between my fingers. It's good to go and off. Oh boy, turn this off. Put this away, and you want it immediately on the machine. Do not stand around. Pop it on and on. Full blast. Once the bowl is no longer hot and peaks are forming in the meringue, you can start adding the butter. Add the butter a tablespoon at a time, making sure all the butter is incorporated before adding the next tablespoon. Those ripples are what we're looking for. It takes a while, but it will emulsify eventually. I'm gonna switch to a paddle attachment. Oh yeah, beautiful. I added in 100 grams of melted dark chocolate, and up until this point, the buttercream had been looking and acting as it should. You're being weird today. Please stop it. It should have felt thick and stable, but instead it was moussey, airy, and soft. Having a bit of a moment. The buttercream was coming together really nicely, and then it was like on the edge, and then I was like, oh, it got a little too warm, so I'll just throw it in the fridge. And threw it in the fridge, ate some food, came back, it's like coming together, and I was like, oh, it's a little too cold, and it just never looked right. Like, even when I added in the chocolate, I was like, okay, it's not 100% perfect, but like, I've made this Swiss meringue buttercream 10,000 times, and it always like gets there, and there's this magic moment where you just like, you trust the process, and it looks terrible, and it looks split, and it looks soupy, and it just doesn't, and then it just like magically like comes together. And I have been mixing this now for so long, and I heated it up, and I cooled it down, and I added more butter, and I added a bit of water. I Googled, I YouTubed, and I've literally tried everything, and it's just not coming together. And now it's 7 p.m. and I still don't have frosting for this cake. So sometimes you just have to admit defeat, and this is why I don't take cake orders. This is why I said I was on a journey with cake. I hate when stuff like this happens. I think it's really hard. I also think it's really embarrassing. I've made cakes. I've had people buy my cakes. I've worked in bakeries. I've worked in restaurants. I've worked for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. And like, a Swiss meringue buttercream is pretty, in my mind, pretty basic. And it's like, why won't it come together? Like, why is it this liquidy? And it just will not emulsify. It just won't do it. And I hate that. So I'm gonna clean up. I'm just gonna try to do this again. I'm wondering if one of my problems was that I added dark chocolate, and I have this theory that the chocolate split, like the cocoa butter, came out of the cocoa mass, because I used just like a Lindt. I used this one, just this like Lindt 85%. And I know that this has like added cocoa butter in it to make it like a couverture. And I'm wondering if the cocoa butter just won't emulsify. And because the cocoa butter won't emulsify, that's why it keeps looking weird. And then because like the cocoa butter is gonna emulsify in a different way than the regular butter, that they're just like not playing nice with each other. I don't know. But I'm gonna try to make a Swiss meringue buttercream with just cocoa powder. That's not necessarily like as strong of a flavor as I would like, but like, I'm at the point where it's like, I need to show up with a cake that has a chocolate frosting, even if that chocolate frosting is not as intensely chocolate. As long as it's chocolate, like, it's gonna have to be good enough. Fortunately, this is a gift and not for a client, or I would be having a full-on mental breakdown. Not that a gift should not be as good as if someone was paying for it, obviously, but hopefully you guys get me. Anyways, I'm gonna clean up and just run through making this Swiss meringue buttercream, and we'll see what happens. To the point where I'm like literally gaslighting myself. I know that this looks really beautiful, and it's come together really well, and it looks really nice, and it's really just like, ooh, shiny and beautiful and everything it's supposed to be. And I just keep being like, is this buttercream? Does it look good? And I keep being like, is it? Is it nice though? It's also really hot in this apartment. I'm gonna call it good enough for a government job. I'm gonna add in a couple tablespoons of cocoa powder. And if this doesn't work, I'll just cry. I think it will work though. That's surprisingly chocolatey, so that's nice. And I'm not gonna mess with it more. I ain't got time for that. So we're gonna call this good enough. And like, it's very delicious. If I wanted it to be less sweet and stronger of a chocolate flavor, I should do a chocolate ganache. But I did a catering a couple months ago where I made macarons with ganache filling, and my ganache split on me 3 times. So I haven't wanted to do a ganache. Just out here having all these terrible pastry experiences, and it's making me sad. But okay, let's put this cake together. Just kidding, we need to do the raspberry filling first. So raspberry jelly out of the fridge. It has set up super nicely. We love to see it. Oh yeah, that's a jelly right there. Schwonk. Mix it up a little. Beautiful, nice and thick. Take our raspberries and some raspberry juice. Look how beautiful that looks. Love. I'm not gonna stir it too much because I don't want my berries to break. Cake board and my turntable. Pop. Let's do this. We're gonna take the bigger one first, and I just wanna slice the top off so it's a little flatter. Nice. And the rest of these, I could cut the top off, but I think it's good enough. Let's put her together. Somehow, miraculously, this has turned out really amazing looking. My idea was to freeze it, but I literally don't know if it'll fit in my freezer. So we're gonna pop it in the fridge, and I have a case for it so it doesn't pick up any of those fridge smells. So let's go do that. I'm so tired. I literally don't even know if it'll fit in the case. Okay, cool. I think I'm gonna have to put it on the cupcake side. All right. Oh boy, that's gonna be fun to get out tomorrow. Oh, it is gonna touch. I'm gonna put a layer of plastic over it because I'm gonna be able to fix it, like the frosting tomorrow, this case on. I literally don't know. It's like just sitting on the top, like where this handle is. So I literally don't know how I'm gonna transport this since the case doesn't fit. That's a problem for tomorrow, not for today. Today, Cecilia is done. Time check, it's 7:45. So, okay, enough talking, into the fridge. Good morning, boys and girls. Day 2. I have so much anxiety this morning about this cake. I slept well, but I got up so early just because I was like, gotta get this cake done. Oh my God. So without further ado, we're gonna make the vanilla Swiss meringue buttercream and then put this cake together. Let's go do it. Egg white, sugar, see, this is how easy it should be. Just whip it together and it's gorgeous. I don't know what was going on yesterday. As far as decorating goes, I want to go with the same vibe as I did for my 30th birthday, but like better. That was the first time I had ever really decorated a cake with buttercream, so I want it to be pretty similar to that, but a little bit more color. I already have some blue Swiss meringue buttercream that I saved from an elopement cake I did a couple weeks ago. This has been in the freezer. So we're gonna make blue flowers out of this, and then I need to take a little bit for pink flowers, probably about that much. It was like 3 scoopies. And then the rest of this, just trying to think here. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Put the blue in here. Shunk. And this is like very, very, very blue. So I just want to add a little bit of white to it to make it not so blue. And then I'm thinking whatever is left over of the pink and the blue, I'll make some little purple flowers. But this is going to be for the outside of the cake. I want it to be a light green, and then whatever's left over, I'm gonna dye an even darker green to make like little leaves and stuff. So let's dye this first and get the outside of the cake decorated, and then we'll see where we're at. I really like this kind of like light minty green, and I don't want to take it too far. It always kind of freaks me out how much food coloring you need in stuff to get it to actually be like a strong color. Like, it's an insane amount of food coloring. Our baby has slept very well. No cracks, no leaks, no nonsense. We love to see it. Gorgina. Now I just got to get it out of here. Lovely. It's only when I'm like sitting here on the side and looking at it straight on that I realize the cake is crooked. Ah. Okay, genuinely, this is like the cleanest cake I have made thus far in my cake making career, and I am so excited. I'm so happy right now. I'm gonna pop it back in the fridge. Just wanna clean up my edge a little bit here first. I'm actually gonna put it on the turntable in the refrigerator because it's easier to lift that way. While that's cooling down, we're gonna mix up our colors. This green, we're gonna pop into another bowl just because it's cleaner. Oh, you know what I just realized? This is supposed to be vanilla Swiss meringue buttercream, like with vanilla in it. And I forgot that. Cool. Well, at least it looks beautiful. Also, it does taste good. It just doesn't taste like vanilla. And then the question is, if I haven't put vanilla in the whole of the outside, do I put it in the decoration? I was too enthusiastic, too fast, too enthusiastic, too fast. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Still tastes delicious. Gonna move on. That was a lot of food coloring. Still not dark enough. Just gonna add the whole bottle. And I have some black. I'm gonna add literally a single drop in hopes that it makes it a little darker. There we go. Literally a drop. It's definitely darker, but it's still this like shamrock color. That black helped a little bit, but I don't want it to go gray. I think this black is not a true black. It's like a blue black. So I don't want this to be a gray green. I wish it was more of like a forest or an emerald, but I'm just not gonna get there. So we're gonna have to call this good enough. This one's pretty easy. A nice light sky blue. I want this to be a really nice light baby pink. Lovely. I think all three of these will look good together. Okay, I'm not actually gonna monkey with it anymore because I'm worried about messing it up. This is already the best I've ever done. I don't wanna fly too close to the sun here. We are starting with blue and we're gonna use this flower tip. I think this cake is trying to kill me. I have yet again run into issues. I bought these flower piping tips at Michael's a couple years ago, and I used them on my 30th birthday cake, and they worked like just fine. And I was like, oh, cool, this is great because it's so easy. You literally just go like, and then out comes a flower. And I cannot get it to work with this Swiss meringue buttercream. And I don't know if the buttercream has too much air in it. All of my tests have like a lot of holes and like bubbles, which tells me there's a lot of air. I tried to like knock out the air when using the paddle attachment, but maybe when I added the color, I like whipped more in or I didn't knock more out, but I like can't figure it out. So now I don't know what to do. Like literally don't know what to do. Don't know how I'm gonna decorate this cake. So I'm gonna take 5 minutes and go on Pinterest and see how I can do this and try to figure it out. I don't have that much of the green, and I feel like unless the blue and the pink are in some sort of flower or whatever, like to just do like squiggles, they're not like that complementary. Like if I had known the flowers weren't gonna work, then I would have done just like all shades of green and blue instead of and I wouldn't have done the pink. But maybe I could turn the pink into purple and then the whole thing would be cool toned. I don't know, I gotta figure this out. I'm gonna put this back in the fridge while I do that. Okay. Update, I turned the pink purple. I found a tutorial on Pinterest, thought it looked easy, tried it, wasn't. Couldn't figure out how to do the leaves. They didn't look good. All three colors next to each other, I hated. So now we're gonna try to just do a green cake because I like these two shades of green next to each other, and we're just gonna green it up, see how it goes. This is where we're at. We're gonna go and try to find some fresh flowers to put on it because I think that that will just make it look more alive. Fresh flowers are always the solution. More is more also is always the solution. So we're just gonna more is more this. I'm gonna go in the fridge, we're gonna let this rest. I'm gonna have lunch and a cup of coffee and try to finish this project on a high note because I'm so tired right now. I know.
Vänster först.
Get out.
Yeah, I think it's good here.
That's good here, right?
Yeah.
Ja, det är lätt. You got it. Woo! I'm anonymous Easter. What do you gotta do?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.